Timeshifters hope that you enjoyed this rare and infamous moment that combines a first-rate disaster with genuine historical significance. But now it's time to take a deep breath and get those cameras out as we prepare to temporally reset you to one of the most fantastic catastrophes in history. Are you ready?
Everyone, and welcome back to the last Timeshifters podcast episode of the year. Tom, how are you doing? This has been an exciting year.
It has. We filled it out rather nicely.
We have, and now we come to the final episode of the year, dropping the week of Christmas, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So, Merry Christmas to everyone who is celebrating. I believe Hanukkah starts
on Christmas Day, too. So, happy holidays to all the holidays.
Yes, exactly. And we won't talk to you before the new year, so right off the bat, we'll wish you all a happy new year, too, just in case I forget to say it at the end, because that does happen sometimes.
It does indeed.
Just remind anybody, if you haven't, if you're tuning in, if this happens to be the first episode or anything, please go back and listen to some of the other episodes, including the Time Hop, is what you call it, that aired just a week ago. Mm-hmm. We reviewed a film called Listen Carefully, definitely a film worth checking out. But this episode, we don't have really a theme or anything going on. We've decided to just kind of do a little bit of a recap or a retrospective, and just shoot the breeze a little bit, just see what we've been up to this year, that we've had these kind of things going on where we kind of jumped right in and we didn't do a lot of our usual early banter or anything. So I just figured this would be a good time to just sort of decompress a little bit at the end of the year.
At this time of year, it's good to get a little fireside chat going on.
Yeah, exactly. No, like I said, decompression is probably a good way to put it. We've been through a lot of really fun films this year. We started out the film with Past, Futures, Imperfect, and had a fun time looking at films that were made in the past that predicted the future.
That we have already passed through.
Yes. In most cases.
In most cases, or they were very, very close.
Yes. And that was a lot of fun. It gave us kind of excuses to watch some films we haven't seen in a while, like Demolition Man and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. A few films that we've never seen. I still think, what's funny, and I feel so bad that the audio for it kind of got goofed up. The first film that we covered for that series, Condor, the made-for-TV movie, I think encapsulated the theme so well. It was like the best film for the theme, and I went and had the audio get screwed up on me, and I can't fix it, so it's not a really great episode.
Clean as usual.
No, unfortunately not. Felt really bad about that.
Well, not to mention, your heart has a soft spot for made-for-TV's 80s movies.
Yeah, it is true. It is exactly the kind of film that I kind of gravitate towards, that weird, someone made this kind of movie.
Well, and oh God, there was so many that at the time where they just tore them out like tissue papers because they were all intended to be TV pilots, and they did or they didn't get off the ground, and this is a didn't.
But if it had, it would have been one that I would have watched.
I know, absolutely. And for nothing but above board writing reasons, not because there were lots of cute women in it.
Yeah, the main star, the female star of that, was not hard to look at.
No, not at all.
Yeah, but that was a fun series, but it was one of those series where I was a little concerned we wouldn't have enough to fill the year.
And we didn't get to everything because we shifted gears.
Yeah, we had a few more on the list, and those may come up in future episodes.
Oh, sure.
But we keep track of all the ones we've watched and all the ones we wanted to watch. Mm-hmm. So they may come back around. But yeah, we definitely shifted gears when we got into the fall of 2024.
Yeah.
And we started looking at, it ended up being all the classic Universal. It really in my thought process, I wasn't intending on doing a Universal film marathon or anything like that. But as it turns out, all the really early, like, classic horror films are Universal.
They are, yeah. They all are. All of your classic monsters, all of the core monsters that then feed all of horror thereafter, all come out of Universal Studios.
Right. And many of the films that we've paired with them, the more modern films, many of them ended up being Universal films.
Yeah, with very rare exception.
I think we definitely had at least a Warner Brothers and maybe a Paramount in there, but
Yeah.
lots of Universals.
Yes, no, because I believe, like, The Shape of Water was, I believe, a Warner Brother.
That was Warner Brothers for sure, yeah. That ended up being a really fun series, and like I was saying before about, having excuses to watch films.
Well, yeah, because we were using it to even, especially since we were kind of doing a then and now kind of version of our spooky season. It gave us a reason to watch some of the more current ones that we may not have caught up with.
Yeah, exactly. There was a bunch that had been, like, on the list. Like, yeah, I want to watch that one of these days. And just never got around to. And by saying, no, we're going to review it, okay, now I have to.
Well, yeah, because I know for me, because if we want to talk about the things that just really kind of we were both pleasantly surprised and became passionate about, is I always wanted to see The Shape of Water. Put it off for years, obviously, since it's from 2017. And I'm in love with that film.
Yeah, I know that was definitely a highlight for you.
Yes, no, I really liked that one. It'll be a constant rewatch.
Yeah, we're on, I won't say opposite ends of the spectrum, but I am further down the spectrum from you on that one.
No, that's fair.
Yeah. But again, when it came to some of the classic films, I know there was a few that you were lukewarm on, maybe, where I look at them with a much more fond eye.
Yeah, no one can take off your rose-colored glasses for some of those.
Exactly. I mean, when I look at the original Dracula, I still have a blast watching that one. And yes, watching it as, a critic or whatever, I have to, accept and
it's
point
flawed.
out its flaws. Yes.
It's a flawed film, and not a particularly scary one either.
No, absolutely not.
As much as you're supposed to be terrified of a vampire, the original Dracula was not all that terrifying.
No, that's very true. I do remember we got, I don't think it was anything that came up in any of his feedback that we read on the show, but Steve Sullivan, who wrote us several times throughout the series, did, like, offline, I think, kind of felt or expressed the fact that he felt that we were being a little harsh on some of the older films.
And Steve, you may be wearing a bit of a rose-colored glasses yourself on that, and that's fine. There's a reason these are beloved films, but they're not perfect. But they don't have to be.
No, exactly. And I said almost as much to him. I was like, I will watch these films, ad nauseum. I will, and I enjoy them every time. But when you're looking at them as we do, I have to actually kind of accept and point out the flaws that are within the films.
Yeah, and nothing beats a Universal film for ending a movie. Because a Universal monster movie ends now. It is abrupt. It is a fall off a cliff. It is done. And I hadn't experienced such a run of films that do not... They just run headlong into the wall, and that's it. It's over.
And in many cases, I think most of the Universals at least have the a good cast is worth repeating card. But in some cases, all the credits are at the front end of the film. So you're right. You get to the end where like the villain has been dispatched and screen goes black, and that's the end of the film.
And here's a takeaway after absorbing all of those films now, which is incredibly interesting to me. So when these were made, in the mind's eye of the studio and the directors and the writer, this is a one and done. We're going to make this, put it on the screen, they're going to go see it, and that's it. We move on. So each and every one of these characters die, or at least are presumed dead. The only one that gives you a little bit of question mark is the creature. Because you just watch the creature disappear down into the depths. But it's presumed dead. Everybody else, definitively dead. And yet it spawned, these movies with definitive deaths spawned so many sequels. Each and every one of them. Every single one of them.
It is, and that is one of the more interesting things when you look at films from, 70, 80 years ago. No one was thinking tentpole. This is gonna be the first in a trilogy, and this is gonna start a whole franchise. No one thinks that.
No, because that's not even been conceived of. There's no such thing as that.
Right.
So,
and I kind of wonder if that played into the creature and how the creature ended, because by the time you get to that's in the 40s. 50s, excuse
54.
me. And so there is 20 years of, okay, we made this movie and we killed a villain, and then a year later, or not
back.
in some cases, not even a year, let's bring him back and we do a sequel, and that was popular. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
So I wonder if by the time they get to the 50s, they went, let's keep it a little ambivalent there.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, that sets the standard, because these went out to be one-off movies and then figured out that, people like these and they like that character. Let's do it again. That established that every horror movie forever and always would have some sort of out for their bad guy. So that, okay, the audience likes this one, let's do it again. So it without even trying, it now set the trope for how everything would come thereafter. So you can't not watch these and give it credit for what it was.
If you really want to see some fine examples of, we've dispatched the villain and then a year or 2 years later, we want our villain back. We didn't watch any of them or really discuss any of them, but watch the Hammer Dracula films.
Yeah.
That is almost hilarious how, okay, Dracula has been burned. He's now nothing but dust. And then in the next film, it turns out you can take a pile of dust and sprinkle blood on it, and poof, there's Dracula in his tuxedo with a cape.
Christopher Lee's just fine.
Okay, his ashes have been scattered to the wind. It's all good. He's dead. Next film, but his ring survived.
Yeah, no, that takes it to a new extreme. But yes, without the originals, you don't get to how we do it now.
Right. I know, as you said, The Shape of Water was probably one of, if not, the highlight for you out of the series. Was there any others? I know you really enjoyed The Invisible Man, the original Invisible Man.
And that's just it, the original Invisible Man.
Yes.
I am so enamored with that film now. I've actually watched it a full second sitting as recently as a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, no, because I just find I enjoyed that immensely. And I don't have a great reason why, other than I'm impressed with the storytelling at the time, despite some of the ridiculous factors of it. I'm impressed with the effects that they pulled off, and he was just a compelling character. So I love that one.
Yeah, well, so thrilled that you did, and yet that is one, as we discussed when we reviewed it. It's one I love, but probably one of the ones I watch the least for some reason. I have a hard time, just talking myself into throwing that in. And maybe it's because that is just a different kind of film than all the others. The others are just wham, bam, fun, mindless. Oh, it's Dracula. There's really no meat on any of them.
No,
not really.
This is one where there was like legitimate suspense. It had a villain, because the other ones are monsters. Dracula is an undead. Frankenstein is built out of parts. The Mummy is just a decrepit old fossil. Wolfman's a beast. You get all of those. But the Invisible Man is a man. And he is a man losing his mind as a result of his own successful experiment. And watching him, and I say watching him when half the time you can't see him. But watching and hearing this person just kind of continue to lose their grip on reality. His logic just keeps sliding away, and he keeps doing more things absurd. And honestly, if he had his marbles together, he'd have gotten away with everything. But because he didn't have that grasp, it is the only reason you could catch him. And I love that. It had a lot of intrigue.
Yeah. And I think that's probably why it's just the film that I don't watch as much as the others, just because it is not
attention.
Yeah, it's not a just I'll throw this on in the background sort of thing.
Yeah, no, it's not. The Frankenstein's walking around going, eh. That's cool, yeah, and it is cool, and that was the thing that was surprising for me out of the entire series. Is I thought, of all of the originals, I figured Frankenstein's my guy, because Frankenstein's always my guy. And I'm like, and I did like it, but then when we watched The Invisible Man, I'm like, that's better.
Oh, so The Invisible Man has usurped Frankenstein?
As a cinema piece, nothing will get rid of Frankenstein. Actually, of all things, my son and I found ourselves on a trip to Boston recently, and they had a holiday market, and of all the things that we purchased out of there, there was this lovely young lady that was making children's toys, these stuffies, and her theme is octopuses for the most part. And then she would theme various octopuses, so we bought a Frankenpuss. So it is a green octopus with stitches in it and bolts in its neck and cute little black eyes.
Oh, nice.
So, yes, you cannot take Frankenstein out of my life. But The Invisible Man was my Halloween costume.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm very happy because I know many of the early films were either first-time watches or first beginning to end watches for you.
Like all of them, they've been ingrained in culture for so long. You haven't not seen at least parts of most of these films. But yes, for a stunning number of them, it was first full watches, and I know you get a little hesitant with it when it's the old stuff, when because I have a tendency to lean toward more modern things. So I know you worry for me that I might not that I might not enjoy these, but no, not at all. It didn't take anything away. I loved seeing these films. It was good
that's
to finally
fantastic.
see them in their entirety with a purpose. It makes it a little more special.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I'm so happy that you enjoyed them because it makes me enjoy the experience even more when I get to share something that I enjoy and to share it with somebody else. And even if they're films that you may not go back and revisit them or often or at all, with the exception of like The Invisible Man, it's still at least you've you've watched them and you didn't like. I can't believe I spent an hour watching this stupid thing. Yeah.
No, because like our late entry, which should have been technically the first if we had planned accordingly, but the introduction of Phantom of the Opera, and that was my first sit down of a full silent film, and I loved it. It was great, and I do see me revisiting that. I know my son wants to. He's a big Phantom guy, and he's never seen the original, so he wants to sit down. We'll probably watch that in the not too distant future.
Yeah, awesome, and I can't wait to hear his take on it. What he thinks of early 20th. I mean, some of the earliest early 20th century filmmaking.
Literally, it'll be 100 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and I'm just fascinated to sit my 15-year-old son down to watch a 100-year-old film and just kind of see how he takes that. But yeah, no, I love that these are out there. I love that I got to experience them for the first time and then share it in this way.
Yeah. And I'm trying very hard to not like email you like long lists of other films that I think you should watch.
Why would you stop now? No, you feel free. I get to whatever I can get to when the time allows. But yes, no, you're not going to turn me off to these things. There are some that I watch that you enjoy that I go, are you sure you're okay? Your deep appreciation for Robot Monster, for one.
As I sit here with my 12 by 18, I think it is, print staring down on me.
Yeah, and I get that it is a goofy, stereotypical B horror / sci-fi movie that just ticks all the right boxes for you.
Yep. It absolutely does. That film, it is the it's for me, it's this film shouldn't exist.
It really, really shouldn't. No.
And yet here it is.
And it's, at least in your mind, it is perfection for the fact that it actually exists. Because nobody should like that. But you do.
It is one of the most perfect bad movies.
Yes, it is. It's up there, and it's the good kind of bad. It is just so silly and cheesy.
Yes,
it's hard not to kind of enjoy it. I totally get
exactly.
it. But your total deep love for it is a little indescribable at times.
It is a frustrating appreciation of a film because there are things that have come across that I would love to have in my possession. That, I mean, there was I'm blanking on the name of the company now, but someone did a licensed like figure reproduction of Roman, and I've got to have one of these, and I can't afford that.
That part's always a shame.
Yeah. So there are things that come across like that it's unfortunate that you enjoy something like that when you get these quirky little things that come across and yeah, that's great, but...
Yeah, but we gotta eat.
Yes, exactly. Someday that figure will be mine. I'll find it secondhand and probably end up paying twice as much as it would have if I bought the damn thing in the first place.
As the collector of the group, yes, I know that all too well.
Yeah, but I'm very happy that you've enjoyed the films, and I've enjoyed a lot of the newer films too. The ones that we finally did get around to. Shape of Water, like we were saying, I was a little hot and cold. It was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine. Actually ended up liking The Invisible Man, the 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2020 film. I ended up enjoying that a bit more than I thought I would. That one is also one that has some pretty big flaws.
Oh, yeah.
But there's enough in there that makes you kind of, at the end of that film, kind of Ooh, that let's talk about that.
Yeah, no,
it
has
begs
that
discussion.
Yeah, it has discussion factor to it.
Yeah, and so I appreciate that a lot. So that made it a lot of fun. Going and watching the werewolf films, which sparked me to go in and watching a few others. I know I didn't mention it here on the show, but somewhere in between, I pulled up Dog Soldiers.
Don't know that one.
Oh, you do not know that one?
I do not know that one.
I bet you know that one. You just don't think you know that one. That's a really good werewolf film. Steve Sullivan, I think, mentioned in one of his messages to us about The Howling, and that the first Howling is actually quite enjoyable. The sequels, I don't recall. I think there are several, and I think there's like diminishing returns, but I could be wrong about that. It has been forever since I've watched them, but it's been itching in the back of my brain to go and watch them again.
Yeah, you have an affinity for the werewolves, so
I do enjoy a good werewolf film.
I
do. I know I've taken this podcast down the werewolf path more than once.
I remember years ago that we did. I still remember it because it was a werewolf biker film that was just
Werewolves on Wheels.
Yeah,
the werewolf film that lacks a good werewolf.
Yeah, you keep watching, and I'm like, werewolves, huh? You say?
Yeah. And never on wheels.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's the movie where you want the poster and you never get it.
No, I tell you the surprise, particularly out of our spooky season, aside from all the good films we watched, though, was Poor Things.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. That was a very different film. It was definitely very tangentially connected to the Frankenstein we paired it to. But I really liked that film. If nothing else, that's a film that I could watch with the sound off.
Yeah.
It's
a moving painting.
Yes. Every frame I feel like is you could just print that and put it on the wall and enjoy it.
Yes. No. It's a truly gorgeous film, and its take on the concept of the Frankenstein monster takes it to a new level of weird.
Yeah, very.
And then flipping essentially the patriarchy on its head by this innocent just kind of taking all the power from everyone whenever she has tried to be yoked by her father figure, by the love interest and all of that, and the second love interest, and she is not having any of it. And I love everything about that.
Yep, the only thing that really kind of takes me out of that movie is the end, and we discussed that a lot when we reviewed it, and it's just... Oh, if you could have cut that film just 5 minutes earlier.
Yeah, or just come up with some other solution to the original husband. Yeah.
Yes.
That was the only off-putting part of that film, is that wasn't quite the right ending.
Yeah. It definitely felt like it was writers kind of in a corner of a room going, how do we get out of this now?
I liked where they were going. I just felt like it needed a different execution. Putting the mind of her former husband into the body of a goat was not quite right. That's not the core.
It didn't fit the character that had been built up for 2 hours, and then the last 5 minutes of the film, it completely undoes everything.
Yeah, and that was not quite the comeuppance you kind of wanted for him.
No.
So, I think they could have had another crack at that one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But
absolutely.
everything else about that film is just absolutely outstanding. The acting, the set pieces, the music choices, all of it.
Yeah, there was definitely a fun one for me as well. But outside of the two series that we did this year, I know it's definitely in the last half of this year, we kind of jumped right into the reviews since we were covering anything from 2 to 3 films. We didn't talk a lot about anything we've been up to or watching outside of stuff for the podcast. Have you had a chance to kind of do anything particularly geeky, outside of the Comic Expo that we went to?
The Comic Expo was probably the only other truly geeky thing. As far as things that I've been consuming outside of what we watch and just mindless stuff on the TV while I'm doing other things, I'm trying to get into, and it only just started recently this month, was the prequel series for Dune. It's on Max.
Okay.
And it tells a story of the Landsraad 1,000 years before the time of Paul Atreides. It's hard not to kind of go, are you trying to be Star Wars now? kind of vibe. But so far, the political intrigue and the stuff that they're getting into and setting the landscape for the various things that one might know who does follow anything Dune, it's proving to be interesting, but I need to see a little bit more. It's as with all things Dune, pun intended, it's a little dry.
Yeah.
And we haven't even gotten to Arrakis, so
Gotcha.
yeah, so there's lots to build on and just waiting for just a little bit more.
I finally lost Max.
Did you?
Yes.
They finally figured out that you weren't paying for that?
Yeah. 2 years, I guess, was, was
not bad off of
run.
what, a 6-month trial?
Yeah, not even that. Oh, well, yeah, but no, I decided to, I hadn't turned it on in a while, and I decided to click on over, and it's like, oh, welcome back, please sign in. Like, yeah, can't do that.
So what about you? What have you had, like, you find time to watch things, I don't even know where you find the hours to do it, so.
Late nights,
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I have been up to just a little this and that, and a few things that are just things that I'm trying to just occasionally watch, just when I've got that last hour before I'm gonna go to bed at 11. I don't really have anything else. What can I do to fill that? A half an hour or 45 minutes before I do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Of all the weird things, I have been watching the old GoBots cartoon.
I'm sorry, why would you do that?
Not regularly, just on occasion. I'll just flip over, watch one, and then I'll walk away for a few days or even weeks, and then go back. Yeah, it's not a great cartoon, but there is something about the GoBots that I just sort of appreciate, just by their simplicity compared to their Transformers brethren.
Yeah.
I like the fact that the cartoon, when you see the characters, they look exactly like the toys. Mm-hmm. How they transform, how they come apart, and you see their arms and the pegs. It's like, that's the way the toy looks. I like the fact that this is what I see on TV. This is what I have in my hand, and it's the same thing.
No, I get you there, because actually recently, somewhere on Facebook, somebody posted a picture of the original G1 Transformers, all transformed into their robot modes, and it was all the original characters that you would have gotten on the first season of the cartoon. And when you scan across the actual toy line, you're like, yeah, none of you look like that at all. Especially when you get to Ratchet and Ironhide, and their toy versions had the sticker staring through the windshield as part of the toy. And I'm like, what the hell was that? But no, I feel you on that part, but I cannot abide GoBots at all.
I don't care for some of the choices for the voices. There's one character, Scooter, who is a scooter,
Of course.
and his voice is so damned annoying. That's probably why I can only watch maybe one or two at any, because it's just like, scooter heavy episode. Can't do it.
I tell you the one, and I've been dragging this out, speaking of cartoons, but I'm about to bring Exo Squad in for a landing. I'm almost through the second season, which is an extra long season anyway.
Yeah.
But I have to divorce my 50-plus-year-old self from some of it while I watch, because it's just lots of shooting and explosions most of the time, along with bad 90s style haircuts on people that are supposed to be in the future.
Right.
And forgiving all that, just the underlying story is still just so good. There's a little part of me that just wants somebody to try to adapt that into a live action something or other.
I would love to see a live action Exo Squad.
Yeah, like
that would be a really great series. I don't want a film.
right,
That needs to be a series.
As with any of these things, this is a long form story. You need time. You need to make it. Like I could see taking this and getting kind of adult about this. I mean, it's essentially it's no different than telling a Battlestar Galactica. Because it's essentially the same story. And since they want to do yet another Battlestar Galactica series, I'd love to go, no, you kind of made a definitive one. The more recent version of Battlestar Galactica, nailed it, move on, maybe try this.
Yeah, if you want to tell that story again, how about you try something a little different?
And then, I mean, again, the exosuits and all that, their mechs and all that, neat gimmick, but I want to see it. I want to see it play out, and I want to see it on a screen, and I want to see you take it serious. And I love the idea of it, so I'm almost done.
Almost a little bit like when you're watching the live action space battleship Yamato film.
Yeah.
You know, the film itself, it's okay.
Yeah.
But the highlight is seeing the Yamato as real as it's ever going to be.
Right, yeah. No, which has me both terrified and hopeful, because I keep catching the little snippets. Voltron is moving forward.
Oh, really?
They have actors attached to roles.
Interesting.
Yes, so
that could be cool.
It could be, as long as they do it right. Like Netflix's retelling of the story in that animation, that was also perfect. They nailed it.
Oh, interesting. I never got a chance to see that.
Oh, really? If you ever find the funny thing is, it's about to leave Netflix.
Well, of course. No, that means maybe it'll show up on something I've got.
Right. But all that said, it does the same Voltron stuff where by the time you get to the end, it's getting a little over the top, but still such a good story. And they made it, the new animation and all that made it so much cleaner, so much more fun to watch. And then the fact that they're going to do a live action now, it just makes me go, okay, well, you've got lots of variation on that to go from. What are you going to do?
Right.
But I'm excited to see it come. Lord only knows when it'll actually go into production and actually release. So,
well, I'll jump around a little bit. This is actually something just recently, and it ties in with what we were just talking about. I watched Transformers 1.
Yes, I saw.
Have you had a chance? Did you watch that one?
We went to the theater to see it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was not a fan.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah. I felt like the story is just so old and tired, and then you bring in the Transformers that don't feel really like Transformers. They just feel like it feels like they just rotoscoped a dozen other films.
Yeah.
And then said, "Oh no, they're Transformers."
See, I was trying to take the perspective. This is not going to be my precious G1 Transformers, but with the idea that they are trying to do something for a newer generation, I actually kind of enjoyed it.
Okay.
As an origin story for Optimus and Megatron, could have done a lot worse. I actually rather got a kick out of how they decided to handle that. I enjoyed the poor Sentinel Prime. Sentinel in any version of Transformers telling is never a good guy, but wow, they made him pretty damn despicable in this one.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought the Leonard Nimoy version of him was pretty damn despicable too. But this was next level, robbing literally all of the Cybertronians from their ability to transform. That was insane. But I liked that they kind of put that there, and they took all the elements from the original cartoon, introduced them in a newer way so that you'd have a shot of seeing the start. Now, the only part that comes into question is if they get it. It flopped. It did bad. I get it. I get why some people didn't like it and all that. But knowing that this was supposed to introduce a new version of the Transformers storytelling, this is literally millions of years before they get to Earth. So I'm like, what's your goal with this?
Right.
So that's more my kind of negative toward it, is like, I don't know where you go next.
Mm-hmm. I was really disappointed that the entire voice cast is just lots of, big stars.
Sure.
And none of them, and no effort was made to ever at any point kind of bring them to the sound that we all know. With the exception of maybe it's almost done as a joke where they choke Starscream out and his voice gets all high pitched.
Well, there is that, but no, by the time you get to that final statement from Optimus at the end of the film, he's going more toward the tone that we all know and love.
Yeah, I just didn't.
Not for you.
It didn't. Not for me. It didn't grab me. And there was times where I'm feeling like I don't know enough of the lore. I feel like I might be missing something. When they're dropping names and things are happening, and I'm like, maybe I should know about this.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a kid seeing this for the first time and you don't care, then you had fun doing that. But yes, if you're coming in with some history but not enough, yeah, like I knew most of the references that they were making. So,
and going back to GoBots, they name dropped them a few times as an insult.
Which I found myself laughing out loud at.
I got a kick out of it.
Yeah,
I got a kick out of that.
I understand why anyone might be enamored a little bit with GoBots, but ever since I was offended when Santa brought me a GoBot when I wanted a Transformer, that fat bastard should have known better.
Just recently, like within the last couple weeks, I decided I was going to do a watch through, a rewatch, and see where I may have missed some of Farscape.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know I've seen a lot of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen it all. I know I've seen some of the beginning. I know I've seen the end. I think there's some in the middle that I have seen, or maybe I didn't see it consecutive, sort of thing. I caught on just because it was in syndication on Sci-Fi, and I don't know how much I caught. So all 4 seasons I've got. We'll see. I'm only about 6 episodes into the first season right now.
Okay. Yeah, no, you got a ways to go. The only thing from Farscape, and this is I've talked about this on the show before. My penchant for I want to savor that last bite for so long that I almost never get around to actually finally taking the bite. Peacekeeper Wars, which is the follow-up film that they did at the end after came out like a year after the final season was out. I still haven't watched it.
Oh, really? I think I actually have watched that.
Yeah, that's the only bit of Farscape that I have not watched because I was all in on Farscape.
I tell you, I remember when it first came out, for whatever reason, I don't think it really grabbed me. I wasn't watching it regularly. I don't know why. I don't know if it was just a timing thing. It wasn't something that I could get around to watch or whatever. And so it ended up being something like, as I said, in syndication, like on Sci-Fi Channel. I'd sit down and watch an episode here and there. One of the things that grabbed me then, and it's even more highlighted when I'm watching now, it is so easy to sit and watch that, and almost immediately, when you see a character like Rigel or Pilot, you're not looking at puppets.
No.
They're characters.
They are.
They are actual living creations on your screen, and you don't question it.
No, not at all.
And that has probably everything to do with the Henson Company being involved.
It's part of how I got into it. I remember when it came on Sci-Fi Channel as well, and I was all in episode 1. Loved it. Absolutely adored it. And then I loved the way that they took things in directions that other sci-fi just would ignore. Like Zahn, the fact that she's a plant. Mm-hmm. The notion that life... sentient life might actually come from something botanical. Why not? The fact that they created a sentient being that was as beautiful as she was, who had all sorts of interesting things about her because she was botanical, and exploring that. And then every time you came across an alien, not all aliens looked like humanoids. They were very good about trying to branch out, and the puppetry makes that more possible. There are even, since you don't remember everything, and I don't know where like you mentioned Pilot, we get into what Pilot is, what a species does, how it interacts with this, and when I don't know if you know, there is an episode where he gets removed.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. Yes.
Which then you get a sense of his actual size, which is far larger than you actually can conceive because you only see him from basically the arms up.
Right.
And there's so much more of him. And when they actually went to the trouble to make the rest of him and to introduce that story and how this all works, I'm like, this is some next level sci-fi telling that we have not seen.
Now, I think Farscape is as close as we're ever going to get to certainly a good reinterpretation of Buck Rogers.
Yes. Yeah, that's fair.
You know, he doesn't go to the 25th century.
No,
he just goes to
flung to the other side of the galaxy.
Yeah, but it's all the stories that they should have told in like the old Buck Rogers show and didn't.
And the part that I have to totally get on board with, and again, what makes good sci-fi is this introduced concepts in the late 90s, early 2000s that we still struggle with today. There is a large gender bending is all over the place in Farscape. Trans is all over the place in Farscape, and they weave it into their storytelling naturally, which is supposed to suggest these are just people in their environments doing the things that they do like everybody else And anyone that watched that and didn't come out at least going, I can get on board with the differences in the world, you weren't paying attention to the show.
Right. Yeah, it's an amazing cast. Everyone that they bring on board is just they work so well together that I think that's another thing too is they don't act like they're working with puppets.
No.
They don't act like they are people that aren't in the situations that they're in. Mm-hmm. There's the Crichton isn't comfortable with anything because he's completely out of his element, and you feel every bit of that. And the moments when one character or another does something that's completely out of their realm, and now they're kind of you get that feeling of like, oh, I just did that. I liked that. I just passed the episode where Erin had to do science.
Yes.
She's done nothing but go and blow stuff up her whole life. And she actually got to do some science. And she's like, I did this. This is cool. And it's like, I feel this. It's amazing. And the interaction between Crichton and Erin, I love the fact that there is so much friction, and you feel the friction. There is an episode where she ends up pretty much having to knock him out to take him to go down to the planet to go get something or whatever. And he's sitting behind her in her ship, and she's flying down, and he says something, and she kind of does this whatever, and he's like, "Oh, don't, me." When we get back, we are not done. It's like I love the fact that these are people that they have issues. They have issues with each other. They're not always best buddies. It just makes it so watchable and so enjoyable.
Oh yeah, and yeah, when the love story actually starts to unfold for John and Erin, I don't know. It seems so much more real because they've actually
and natural.
Yes,
yes,
because they have been antagonistic to each other and still come out of this finding a bond. And there's no point in which you don't end up rooting for them. And it's why I'm mad that I haven't visited the Peacekeeper Wars, because the finale left you with them dead. Which was the total. That's just wrong. They had to bring them back, but no. And it's such a fun show too for some of the silliest reasons. The MacGuffins that they put in there, the notion that they have the spores that they inject so that everybody can understand everybody else, but they acknowledged that they needed a way to do that, so they came up with it. Or the one. I kind of want one. I wish it was real just because I want to experience it. I even remember what it's called, a dentic, which I think is funny that it's named. It's the bug you put on your teeth so that it cleans your teeth because he doesn't have toothpaste or a toothbrush.
Right.
So how does he keep his pearly white smile? Well, he's got a bug that he lets crawl around on his face for...
It's kind of minty.
It's kind of, yeah, he even says that. It's kind of minty. It's such a goofy thing, but I love that they actually bothered to have something like that, especially since he is nowhere near any of the things that he knows.
Exactly, yeah. No, they acknowledge the sort of, and try to explain the things that most other series ignore.
Yes.
You never see Captain Kirk brushing his teeth.
No.
Yeah,
No, and if you're thrusting a human being into a completely and legitimately alien world and life and all that, to figure out how to adapt has to be part of the story. And the fact that they actually came up with all of that was just great.
Yeah, it's a fun series. I'm looking forward. I've really had a good time watching this first season, because I think the last time I tried to get into it, for some reason I was having a hard time getting into the first season. And I think the reason why, I discovered that for whatever reason, when the show went to syndication, and apparently when it went to home video, maybe even, the order of like the first 6 or 7 episodes are all over the map.
Yeah.
And so I found a little bit of trivia saying this is, you should watch 1, then 4, then 6, then 3, then whatever. And so I organized it so now I watch them in the order that this, and so far I'm like, okay, this makes a hell of a lot more sense now.
Maybe I might need to try that myself, because when you get into the coming seasons and we introduce the big baddie, Scorpius, and more importantly, what he does to Crichton.
Yes.
Because this is also, as much as it explores the potential of multi-gender and trans and all that, it also explores mental illness on a level that's not that's absolutely. And there are times you can watch an episode and go, I think I am losing my mind because of all the things that go on in the episodes. So when you get down there, you'll have to let me know how you're doing.
Yep, I will, absolutely. I got 2 more things that I wanted to bring up. Just
Sure.
two little films that I stumbled across. Only because they are definitely the B pictures, the B or C pictures.
Yeah.
And I watched them because I figured, okay, I'm just looking for something stupid. Yeah, it's stupid in the background. I'm going to play on my phone while this is on. I'm going to look up and occasionally watch it. The first one is called Deep Shock.
Okay.
All right. It is about a research center in the Arctic Ocean that is attacked by giant electric eels.
Okay.
All right. Yes, exactly. It stars David Keith, who I think is a little bit of an underrated character actor. He does a lot of smaller roles. He guests on shows, and he's like a supporting role. Every now and again, he gets to headline a film, and I think it's a shame that he doesn't get to headline more. I really like him.
Okay.
I'd love to see David Keith actually star in a film alongside Keith David, because I think that would be a blast. But anyway, what I really liked about this film is, I mean, the story is very, tissue, Kleenex story.
Okay.
You've seen it, Base Under Siege. There's aliens / previously undiscovered creature, whatever you want to call it, attacking a group of survivors have to find their way out. But the production value on this film is through the roof for the type of film that it is.
Interesting.
The sets are amazing. The electric eels, the CGI is okay.
Right.
Not as bad as it could be. This is from 2003, so the CGI could be awful, but it's actually not too bad. But the production value, the sets and everything that they get to play in was just, I thought, like A-level sets for a B picture. I wonder if someone stumbled on something that was actually made for a bigger film, and they went, well, we're going to tear this down in a month. Do you want to do your film here?
Here, let's make use of the free, better set.
Yeah. So just that alone, I thought that makes it worth watching. And it's not an awful film for the type of movie that it is. Like I said, it's just a typical kind of Base Under Siege film. Mm-hmm. It is it's not bad. It's worth watching kind of thing. And another one, again, I got suckered in by the description. It was available on Prime. It was called Super Hybrid from 2011. Okay, this thing is about a. I thought it was going to be like a sort of a Christine sort of thing.
Okay, killer cars.
A killer car film. Like The Car, where we're not going to know what's going on, and this car is going out and like killing people or whatever. This thing is about a shape-shifting sentient car that goes after its victims, and it gets trapped inside a Chicago impound garage.
Okay.
With a small cast of characters. And amazingly enough, as cheesy as so much of this film is, it's actually kind of good. It turns out the car is some sort of life form, alien or previously undiscovered, and it's been among us all the time. Who knows? Could be either, could be neither. But again, it's got a surprisingly pretty strong cast, including Odette Fair.
I pulled it up on IMDb while you've been talking about it. I'm like, oh, Dad's in it. Nice.
I'm sorry I didn't watch this before we got a chance to talk to him briefly at the expo.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it's a weird film that it shouldn't be good, but you find yourself enjoying the hell out of it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's I think I thought I maybe threw it out to you. Maybe it was somebody else. I'm like there's another group that likes to do watch-alongs and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're ever looking for something this you might enjoy? I mean, it's corny. There's stupid bits, but there's also there's meat that you can sink your teeth in every now and again. And so it's not bad.
I'll have to throw it out to our Thursday night crew.
Yeah. For the fact that the premise actually turns into a film that is actually enjoyable to watch, to the point of like, I will watch this movie again at some point just for fun.
Wow, okay. Not just a cheesy B movie, but an enjoyable one that it gets a second watch.
I think I will definitely kind of watch it again because, I tuned in just expecting absolutely nothing and ended up just kind of smiling my whole way through. I liked it. It was good. It was fun.
Nice. Yep, definitely going to have to throw that out there then.
Yeah, I hope you do, and I hope you guys get around to it. But yeah, I know, as always, I've taken up a good chunk of this show, and we should probably bring this one to a close. We thought this would be brief.
Yeah,
not the case.
That half hour, we got an hour.
Yeah. But before we close this one out and close the year out, I guess we should maybe talk a little bit about what we have planned for 2025.
Absolutely.
I've been sitting on this idea for a while. I wasn't sure how to approach it. And I thought I had some ideas that were a little bit more complicated. And I think I decided I'd just pare it down to just be, let's just review films. And the theme, I think, for 2025 is going to be Get Your Cast to Mars.
Which, when you introduced me to your tagline, I just absolutely adored it.
So yes, we are going to just watch films that take place or involve the planet Mars.
And who knows, maybe before the end of the year, we'll just move there.
Exactly. See, but doesn't 2025 just sounds like one of those years that if we're going to watch one of these movies and it's going to start in the year 2025, man has colonized Mars.
Yeah, you kind of feel like it used to be in the 50s. The year 2000 was way out there, but I feel like a 2025 was a replacement for that.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, there are so many films that take place on Mars that explore the idea of colonizing Mars or traveling to Mars. I just thought, let's just do films about Mars. Why not? And we will talk about. I've got I got a document there about the facts, some facts about Mars. We'll get into that at the on our first episode.
We could check in with the rovers.
Yes, we'll see what Mars is the only planet that we know of that is entirely inhabited by robots. I mean, going back to our Transformers and GoBots discussion.
It's the early version of Cybertron.
Yep. Yeah, I like I said, I wasn't sure how I wanted to approach this. I was kind of thinking, we could go back and do all kinds of actual tie in things with actual facts and then films, and That sounds complicated. It's so much. There's so much, and there's so much that would require so in-depth research that I would love to do, but I know better than to think that I'm going to find the time or give myself the time to do so.
Right.
So, just watching films that have Mars in them, I think I'm fine with that.
Yes.
I'll settle for that.
No. But we're gonna spend a year with the Red Planet.
As our theme suggests, I think and Tom brought it up, that the best film to start with is 1990's Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Our tagline comes from that film. Why not start off with a truly solid, good Mars film?
So that's going to be 2025. That's going to be it for this episode, I think. And any thoughts on any of the films that we have talked about, or any of the shows we've talked about in this episode, or anything we've talked about this year, your favorite Mars film, please drop us a line, timeshifterspodcast@gmail.com. Follow the link on the show notes. Join us on all the social media platforms. Leave your comments and suggestions there. That is going to do it. Tom, thank you very much. Happy holidays and Happy New Year to you.
Yes, Happy New Year. Another year in the bag with another exciting one on the way.
Absolutely. We'll see you, everybody, next year. Take care, everybody. Bye.
See ya.